Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk.
Hello.
Here on Shelbyville now. Bo, yesterday we said we might have to come back and do one real soon because things might happen.
Real soon.
This time yesterday, 30 minutes after we shut off,
the news came.
The news was like going wild.
Ceasefire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were sitting there talking about what's going to happen.
Ceasefire's coming.
And things were happening right then. So
I said, Trump's going to call for a ceasefire. And you said, yep, that's next. And 30 minutes later.
Hey, we're pretty good right there. That's
got
pretty
lucky.
good timing.
We got lucky. All right, but let's hear from our sponsor, Norris
Plumbing.
And we'll be back and we'll talk about what's happened in the last 24 hours.
Norris Plumbing, your go-to source for licensed and insured plumbing services. Hour emergency services when you need it. Norris Plumbing, call us at 931-703-5915.
All righty, welcome back in here to Real Talk on Shelbyville Now. Well, Bo, as we were talking earlier, as soon as we left and got offline yesterday, we closed the stream down. It was 30 or 45 minutes, and the news came out that Trump had announced a ceasefire.
Right.
And then last night, on into the night, it just got crazy.
Yeah, it did. It got crazy. So there was reports of the ceasefire not being withheld, that there were, attacks on Israel and attacks coming from Israel and attacks coming from Iran. There were parades. People were celebrating because the peace was going on.
Well, they celebrated today, but last night at 12 midnight Eastern time, Iran was supposed to stop.
Right.
Okay. And then a 6-hour window would come and Israel's supposed to stop. So they waited till the last second and pushed the button. And it looked like they pushed the button probably right at, like, over there it was like 6:59 a.m., before 7 a.m.
Right.
Israel time.
Right.
That would have been probably 8 o'clock their time. But at 7:59, they pushed the button.
Yeah.
And by the time the alerts went off, it was after the ceasefire. Okay, they actually fired. Technically, they probably fired the missiles just right before, and they even made the statement, "We're going to go to the last minute of punishing Israel." Okay, and all these missiles come in, hit Beersheba in South Israel. 4 people killed, 30 or 40 people hurt. Hit an apartment complex.
It did.
I honestly believe. I don't believe Iran purposely hit that building. I think they knew it was residential, and they just shot a missile in that direction, because I believe all these things that they were shooting, all these ballistic missiles, I don't think they have the capacity to target like they thought, because they were missing too much. They weren't hitting the military targets like they said.
No, they were.
They were trying, but it looked like they were
they were just
didn't know what they're doing,
flying by the seat of their pants. But look, regardless, they struck and people have been killed there. That's dirty. That's, we've got a ceasefire going, but hey, anyways, right at the last second, let's hit it. So that is an indication of these two.
And then right before that, Israel was hammering them harder than they had the whole time.
Oh, they were. And that's what both sides. And that's kind of comes to play. Is there really peace? Are the sentiments there? Or are they just going through the motions here just to, calm down the world here? I don't know. It seems like there's always been war there. But I mean,
both sides today were celebrating victory.
They were, but it just seems.
But Trump had to call them down this morning. I mean, he
had a good soundbite this morning.
Yeah, he
had the soundbite that hit round the world. It was it was
first thing we woke
nasty.
up to was he told me they didn't know what they were doing.
No, he did. Yeah, in a rather remarkable way.
There are accounts, and there's like people that I don't know if they witnessed it, but it's been reports out of Washington that he got on the phone with Netanyahu and was giving him down the road, was raising his voice. Yeah. And then Netanyahu come out and bragged on President Trump. And there were planes in the air headed toward Tehran, and he stopped it.
Yes. Look, Netanyahu has gone, he's almost got a thirst for blood, it seems like. He is relentless. And when Trump's having to hold you back, you're going too far. Look, I know Israel has been struck, and they've been they're closer to the situation than I am or you are, and they're mad. There's a war going on, but look, their cooler heads need to prevail here, and I think Trump did give him a little dose of what he needed. I think even strong leaders need a dose of sometimes some more strength, but it seems though that what they're saying is we've got peace, we've got a ceasefire.
But the origination of this is still ongoing.
Yes, the origination
Israel is still decimating the Gaza Strip.
Yes, and that's where it all.
And I get it. They went after Hamas very quickly after their attack on it. Lost 1,300 people.
Yeah,
I get it. It was worse than our 9/11.
Yes, it was. It's total. But on both sides, there's just been just war crimes happen. We've talked about some of the things that have happened.
But here's the thing: what's the rules in war, Bo?
There are none, but there were some set in World War II with the military tribunals, and people had to pay the ultimate price for that, as they should have. But it seems though, if you let law and type of things like that go, then you're just asking for more of it to happen. But let's go back for a second on the bombs. There's been some reports of the U.S. bombs that we used.
We talked about yesterday.
That we talked about yesterday.
More's coming out.
There's been some release. The first intelligence report. There's been a few guys that have, I guess, talked anonymously about that, and they have said that it wasn't quite the destruction that they had hoped for on these bunkers.
Let's analyze that. Who are those people? Who are they motivated by, and why are they saying this now?
Exactly, and I'm we talked about being our sources and everything that first they're anonymous. That makes me a little. Second, it's coming from CNN. They're reporting that, which I don't. They've gotten a little better, but they're still CNN. You know what I mean? But obviously somebody's talking, and I think I've got a feeling that it didn't quite have the impact they needed, because we've talked that there were trucks, or they were loading uranium or something out.
Yeah, I think it's 5 days before the bombs.
It's pretty safe knowledge to know that they got what they needed to out of there. And I just don't think. There are some reports saying that they were set back, but only a few months, not years.
That facility, however long it took to build that facility and have that equipment put in place,
right.
That's how far set behind they are. Because I think they still have the uranium. Because I think Trump and the United States government. It's not just Trump doing this. Okay?
Exactly.
All right. He's the commander in chief, yes. But I think he called them and said, look, we're fixing to come in there and carpet bomb that area. You got a few days.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to take care of business.
Yeah.
All right. And the same thing, we got the courtesy when they fired back at our base yesterday.
Well,
we got the same courtesy
bombings. I don't know if that's war
crazy.
or not. That is crazy.
It's not war. It's staged.
Yeah, it's staged. It's almost
WWF.
WWF.
They call it the theater of war. This is literally theater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great, good for them. But it wasn't a theater today when 4 people got killed by a missile.
No, it wasn't. And it hadn't been theater with Israel, just like carpet bombing the big city with 9 million people in. I wonder how many people I don't think we'll ever know how many people were killed by Israel in Tehran, because they don't want to admit that they were hit that hard. And Israel don't want to admit how hard that their cities hit.
No,
they won't show it.
No, they won't.
They've destroyed each other's countries.
They have, and it was going to get worse, And then, as I talked about yesterday, we need to be vigilant here in our country for these cells that might be sleeper cells, or these lone wolf attacks that might, think a certain way or want to harm people. So, there's always that worry too at home.
I'm worried about Trump now.
Yeah, I'm always worried about Trump. Look, he took bullet before he got in.
You look at Lindsey Graham today pitching a fit like a little baby, because he wants regime change. He wants boots on the ground. He wants to go in there and level the place. He wants to kill everybody there.
Yeah, he wants and everybody's kids to go to war and go and fight their war like that.
But the mindset that he has, there's motivation behind it.
Oh, you better believe it.
And there's more than one person motivated.
You better believe it.
So I fear for Donald Trump's life.
Yes, and it's
they better keep him close.
When peace is when you've got peace, you don't have money being spent on military, and you don't have a lot of war money coming through like they are now, like in with Russia and the situation in Ukraine. We haven't even spoke about that much.
Oh, yeah.
But this is all money driven. You saw how the market was yesterday with all the volatility happening there. I mean, it was predictable after you look at it. After you showed me that, I was like, wow.
Somebody made a lot of money.
They made a
yesterday.
lot of money.
They knew it in advance, too, because
sure
the market
did.
started moving before all this came out.
They knew that. Yeah, that's exactly right. They knew about it, and it's a manipulation of the economy there. I mean, in silver, it's interesting. Silver's gone down actually again today. It's at 35.
It's being manipulated.
Yeah, I mean, it should be going up, if anything. But
I think
I don't know.
I think, Bo, also what we've got to watch now. Hello, Tamara. Good to see you today.
Hello.
I think what we got to watch real close is how Trump handles Gaza next.
Yes.
And then he has to handle the Ukraine and Russian war. I mean, that's still a problem.
That is a problem.
I don't know if he just walks away from that and says, guys, we're not funding you no more.
Yeah. Now, well,
and it's over.
His thoughts of the Gaza Strip, he shared with us before he was elected, that it could be a beautiful, thriving place. And I agree with him in that. But the people that are there need to make it their home and the way they want it. And apparently right now, they just want to fight over it.
No.
And until they settle.
Those people, the people that live in Gaza, though, Bo, Hamas is gone and they're underground. There's a few termites left. Okay, those people just want to live. They're trying to get food.
Yeah,
they're being starved out.
That's right.
It's genocide taking place.
That's right. There's an underlying genocide taking place and I don't know how you solve that. I mean, without
Trump has got to tell Netanyahu, if you want to remain close allies with the United States, you got to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hope that happens. And I hope that Netanyahu, I'm sure there are other people around him that are running things just like in our country, how they, shouldn't be ran. And maybe he's got some loose cannons he needs to pull in.
I honestly believe that it's going to take European countries to put a NATO force, peacekeeping force, to Israel. Y'all got 5 days to get out. We're going to come in and we're going to sit around the borders and make sure you don't come back in here. And these people have got to start trying to like pick up their bricks that's all blown all over the place.
They live too close to each other, so they're scared to make one little step that somebody would be mad, and they go, "Hey, U.S., you're far away. Why don't you go?" They won't go for you. Well, we don't need to be that. I mean, it's good to have the strength we have, but do we want to spill our blood in other countries? I mean, do we want to? I mean, I think I'm more for peace. Like I was mentioned earlier, Generation X, that group that grew up, we grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, post-Vietnam. There was no war. There was the few weeks in Desert Storm. There wasn't much going on. So
Tamara brings something up. She's glad to listen to us speak on the situation. I do believe it could be a distraction either way. I believe gas prices may rise higher. Here's the thing. There's a huge supply right now, and the Saudis are pumping oil into the supply. And I think that's by design. And China told Iran, if you block the Strait of Hormuz, you've got problems with us now.
I know it. And
Marco Rubio told China to do that, and they did it.
Yeah, and that was
smart because that's where they get their fuel.
That was very smart because Russia and China have been kind of taking I don't know if sides with Iran, but they were kind of in upheaval because of the attacks there. So they're trying to act like they're creating a little axis with North Korea.
Honestly, they China got on to Iran and their allies, but Iran was doing it to themselves. That's where all their money comes from. It flows out of that strait. They were going to block it themselves.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if they were ever going to do that or it was just a bluff.
I think it's a bluff. I mean, but you never know.
But back to Tamara's point, she's worried about gas prices. They might bounce back up, but they got back down to $66.
Yeah, and that was really surprising.
That dropped $10 in a day.
And that's when they should have probably.
That was a major short, Bo. There was billionaires made in the last 24 hours on oil prices.
And I wasn't one of them.
No. If you bet to short oil, you got rich today.
Yeah.
Yesterday and today.
Yeah.
All right, so all of that's going on. We've got Gaza we got to look at. I don't know what's going on in Syria. And I don't know where the Houthis vanished to. They just kind of stuck their heads back in their holes.
Yeah, I think whoever the Houthis, they're not showing themselves right now, but
sleeper cells in the United States. I have a theory. ICE is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're beating the streets.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you're going to get these sleeper cells if they're here to stick their heads up because we're out on the prowl right now.
Well, the problem with those sleeper cells is, and you might be right, but when they do stick their heads up, it's immediate and it's catastrophe because a lot of times you can't see them. you don't know where they are, and it's too late to
Yep.
do anything when it's there. And that's what worries
So,
me about these.
we
But I
gotta-
agree with you there.
We got to remain vigilant here
Yes,
in this
keep
state.
your eye. See something, say something.
Okay. Other thing, Bo, update on tariffs. I got 2 more letters today from 2 major suppliers. You saw them, you read them. One of them is just a 15% immediate price increase on goods, and there will be another price increase in September. The first price increase was 15%. The next price increase will be 30% on these goods. That means retail prices are going to go up probably at 60% by September.
Oh my gosh.
This other one, we're talking about the Chinese products, and as of today, they have scheduled a price increase on July the 14th, and we don't know what it's going to be, but the average price increase there is going to be anywhere from 35 to 45% at the wholesale level. So who pays for these? The consumer of the United States of America pays for these if you buy their product.
You know, with Donald Trump saying his thing that China's going to pay for those, yeah, China might pay for them in a way if we don't buy them. But the problem is that's the only place we can get it, so we're having to buy it. So we are paying the tariffs. I don't know any other way to say it.
I know. We pay them. All right. So I did a little report. I asked Grok to do some reports on what the 55% Chinese tariffs will do to retail prices. And here's the summary. While some industries may mitigate impacts through diversified sourcing or cost absorption, a business can't absorb cost.
It does not.
Or they'll go broke.
That's
okay.
Right.
So diversified sourcing, that means they're going to try to order through another country and get the Chinese products through another country has a lower tariff. That's what that means.
It's using another avenue.
The 55% tariffs are likely to raise retail prices across a range of goods, particularly electronics, clothing, and other Chinese-made products, naturally. The extent of the price increase depends on how much of the tariff cost businesses pass on to consumers. They're going to pass the majority of it because most companies that are in the distribution point level that distribute up to other companies have a very thin margin.
Yes, they do.
They operate on anywhere from a 10 to 20% margin. When you get a 55% tariff versus a 25% tariff, your price is going up 30%, and you have a 15 to 20% margin, your price is going to double.
Yeah, I don't know who thinks that it doesn't. Fundamental economics tells you that.
Okay, the estimated amount of how it will affect the American household for the rest of this year is basically to an average tax increase of nearly $1,200 per U.S. household in 2025. From this point forward, that's $1,200. If it was a full year, it'd be $2,400 in taxes more that the average family would be paying out in tariffs through higher prices.
Through
that is a
consumable
tax.
goods.
Okay, now, rumors are floating around on this that Trump is considering another pause for 90 days. I think this war and the situation in Gaza and Ukraine is going to make him back off this a little bit. And I hope so, because we can't afford to go into a depression right now. We can't do it.
And we're in a pause right now, right? I mean, aren't we?
We've got till July the 9th, but I think
9th.
he will kick that can another 90 days. If he does, it might save our economy from going into a deep recession.
There it is, folks. You heard it right there. I mean, he's getting.
All right, here comes Steve again. The only thing I was saying is inflation is coming down by half, and we brought in over $50 billion since he did. $50 billion we are paying for, Steve. We are paying it. China ain't paying it. I can't get through. I've had so many people think that China is paying the tariffs. No. We are paying the tariffs when we buy the goods.
We are.
And if you buy a pair of socks, you're paying it.
The
if
only
you
way
buy
that China,
this shirt, you're paying it.
The only way that China will be paid is if they don't sell it to the consumer or to the people shipping it out.
Sales are going to go way down.
Yeah, so then they wouldn't make as much money, and that's where they're trying to hurt them. Now, if we don't buy, that would hurt them very much.
Steve also says he thinks it's temporary. I think when the CEO of Lowe's has actually been to the White House and sit down with Donald Trump and explained to him what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Lowe's is a big corporation, but he is scared for small businesses.
Yes.
He knows a small business keeps this country working.
Yes.
Okay. And he told Trump that if we go forward with this thing with China, it's going to create something between a recession and a depression.
Yes, it would kill
Okay.
people. Look, there's two fine gentlemen in Shelbyville, the Mulder brothers, and they have a motor shop here in Shelbyville. And I'm afraid of what these tariffs would do to people like Rodney.
Well, you look at Kincaid's, been here forever. You look at Shelbyville Lumber Company.
Exactly. I mean, it's gonna totally crush those. Now, I get his sentiment. You know, I get what Trump's trying to do, but if we had more ability to produce
we're 3 generations from that, Bo. 3 generations ago, we started handing away. Now, 3 generations is just maybe 1 generation. Let's say 50 years. It's when we started shipping jobs out of here. I remember when Stanley Tools was in business, and we manufactured tools here
in
hammers.
That's right.
Okay,
I remember. I played for their baseball team.
You played on the baseball team. All right, they went to Mexico. All right, John Hart corrected me the other day when we were talking. They actually went to Mexico for cheaper labor.
They did,
because they could not. And what House created it was a strike and a collective bargaining agreement from the union. All right, the union wanted more money, and they said, "Okay, see you." Gone.
They didn't let the markets work,
and that happened to our car industry too.
That's right. When you don't let markets work and you artificially throw something into a market and say you got to go up, you kill the market. And that's what happened, and that's where they're at. And now it's going to take another generation to bring them back. I mean,
these little guys right here, Bo. I've held these up before. These are 2 little products that we use. They're raw material. We use it on a finished product. Those, when I was like 7 or 8, 9, 10 years old, I would go to my dad to a foundry in Bridgeport, Alabama, which is just right around South Pittsburgh, just south of South Pittsburgh down there. And there was a foundry down there that the family owned, and they did all this casting in their backyard. They had a big shop and did it. And we used to get them from them. We'd go down there and pick them up, and I remember it was a big road trip for me as a kid. Okay, that was in the early 70s, 72, 73, 74, in that range. In 1980, that company went out of business because they couldn't compete because of the cost of labor. And their people, everybody they had there, had to go to factories that were still around. And a lot of those people lost their jobs just a few years later. Right. We kept up with the people, and we shipped it out. So we're generations away. I'd say 2 generations. What is a generation? Usually 30 years. So we're about close to 2 generations away from being a manufacturing company. Now, we still do some manufacturing.
We do.
But we take Chinese parts and do the manufacturing with them.
That's right. And we're mainly a distribution and packaging, any type of industry that you see here. And it's time to get back to getting those raw materials and producing those little parts that we need. And it's going to take time. But I have no doubt that the American individual, if we can all collectively get off our butt and go to work and have that strong workforce and have that want to make something
here, in my opinion, if I was Trump and I was coming from a small business vantage point, because that's what I come from. Right. I mean, that's the vantage point I have. I'm taking it on the chin right now.
Sure
worried. I'm worried about it. Okay. Yeah. I'm worried about 6 months if we're going to be here or not. That's what I'm worried about. All right. So I would tell Trump, if you want to get manufacturing back in the United States, we're going to have some incentives for companies to do that.
That's right.
And the incentive is not going to be tariffs pushing us back. That puts us out of business because it's going to take some time. By the time we get it going, everybody's gone.
That's right. That's right. You got to have the supply still while you're building up that.
It would take 5 to 10 years, and then people are going to have to be willing to pay 3 times the price for it, even after the tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, you've tried to have your parts made here, and it would be.
It's a joke.
You would lose.
It was a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. I mean, it would be
like 8 times higher.
Yeah,
well, there's no way. And there's a guy, I forget what it was now. He was trying to offer 2 products that were exactly the same. One was made in the United States. One was made in China. Mm-hmm. He put the prices out there, and he put a big American flag on this, and he put made in China on this. And over a weekend, he ran a sale just to see who bought what. There were 780 pieces or 800 and something pieces of the made in China sold. None with the American flag on it. It's the price.
The thing is the quality is there now. I mean, it used to be you would talk about Chinese junk. Well, now they have junk too, but they make good stuff.
Oh, how many cell phones do you think are made in the United States?
I bet.
Made in the United States. No, made in the United
States. I don't know.
Zero. There are none made in the United
I'm
States.
gonna start making them in my garage, and
Good
I'll be
luck
the
with
first
that.
one.
Good luck with that. And it's scary. I mean,
That
this
is scary.
thing was made in China. I don't know what
scary.
kind of spyware.
I
it's
don't
on it.
exactly. And then remember what they did with
Then
the
I
bombing.
know I've been
the
like
bombing.
playing this thing on the other
Yeah.
side of the room at night.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm glad it don't say "Made in Iran" on it.
all right. And Steve was talking about the interest rates today. I did notice that the treasuries were going up some, and that means interest rates are coming down just a little bit. But what the Powell sets that big interest rate,
Yeah.
the Fed rate,
The Fed rate.
that we borrow our money on.
Yes.
And here's the problem: whenever it lowers, inflation rises.
That's right.
And so that's what he's teetering with. He sees the tariff inflation coming. If Trump backs off the tariffs, I think we'll get an increase. I think that's a checker game going on.
I think that it is.
It's not chess. That's just checkers. You
That
move
is.
here, I'm going to jump you.
Yeah. No. Well. Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you for your input. Last couple of shows you've done well, and you know what? That gets conversation started, and that's how we get
want people
informed.
to understand the from the mindset of a small business, because small business is the backbone of America's commerce.
That's right.
You can look at Walmart, Kmart, Lowe's, all the big box stores, and yeah, they employ a lot of people, but they also put a lot of small business out of business in the process.
Yeah,
all right. Fortunately, I'm in a business that don't have to compete with them, but right now we're competing with tariffs.
Yes, and that's not good.
Okay, because we've got people that are reluctant to spend money when prices are going up on them.
Right.
They say, "Whoa, I can't afford that." You know why? Because I just paid $20 for a steak the other night that I was buying for $10.
Yes.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
you'll go
crazy.
broke eating out nowadays.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the grocery store.
Exactly.
Eating out's out of the question now.
I
mean, we're gonna go up to, and this is a plug for the coffee break. Gonna probably eat breakfast at the coffee break. That's my one time to go out and eat. The rest of the time, I used to go to drive-throughs. I've stopped it as of last week. I went on a rant and said we're getting nothing for a lot of money.
All right, yes,
so and poor service. So I'm just gonna have to fix my own food. They ate a cucumber for lunch, Bo.
Well, you know what? It's good. It's healthy. That's healthy. You look more healthy. I think you're setting a new standard for yourself there.
We know you're on our side, Steve.
Oh yeah, Steve's on our side.
I need to get you fired up about small businesses having to pay these tariffs, because I think Trump, once he gets a hold of it and he dives into it deeper, he comes from a big business background. Okay,
he does.
Small businesses have legitimate payrolls, and we're not publicly traded company. We're like just mom and pop.
Right. Well, okay? Steve is just like somebody like me. Like if I watch the news or listen to even to conservative radio and I hear that, I think that. But when I come in here and you say, "Hey, Bo, look at this,"
I got the receipt,
and I'm seeing it with my eyes.
Yeah.
Then that's when I'm like, oh, okay. Well, maybe we should enlighten other people to see that this is really kind of a play on words when he's saying, we're going to make China pay it. Yeah, if they don't sell it to us, and we're still consuming.
But they're not going. China's not going to pay anything.
No, they're not. They
want our business.
They do.
Okay, I think what could happen if these businesses have higher margins at the manufacturing level, they'll squeeze them back some, but they actually have to stay in business too. Because the bulk of these companies that we're importing from over there, guess what they are? They're mom and pop
Exactly.
shops.
Exactly.
They got 10, 12, 15 people making some of this stuff. They got out back, they're sweating, and they're actually doing hard labor to make these. Yeah, and the kids are too. And you know what? It's not. They don't consider it child labor over there. That's what we've been told, that it's child labor. It's just they put their kids to work early. They don't beat them to do it. They're teaching them a work ethic at an early age, just like the Japanese did. And look, the Japanese took off and left us.
Well, you know what that shows me? That we need more, relationship. We need to know more about China, because we're not taught that,
And see, Steve, you make the point. I see the high prices too. Most people will look for cheaper alternatives. The cheaper alternatives is coming from China.
Yeah,
that's it.
And that's the big problem.
Pakistan is a key player because they do a lot of metals. Their specialty is metal hand tools. Their steel has been rotten as eggs for years, but they're getting better. They've learned how to temper it. They've learned how to do the Damascus steel on knives and stuff. I'll show you, Bo. I've got a Damascus steel knife that my Pakistani guy made, and it looks pretty good.
Straight from Pakistani. I like
All right, so Pakistan is going to be an alternative, but if their tariff gets rolled in here, then we're right back up where China is.
Well, that's where you're just playing the game.
I got two companies right now that I need to order from, and I can't because I do not know what's going to happen on tariffs. If I order it now with the 10% baseline tariff. And by the time it gets ready to be, it's manufactured, and by the time it's getting ready to ship, and they throw that tariff to me when it hits the port, and it's 55%, or if it's 40%, I'm dead.
Yeah,
I'm dead. I'm like,
how long
I'm
can
out
you
of
do
business.
that? I mean,
I
you
can't.
can't. You
I
just
can't do
can't
it
do
at
it.
all. Period. No. I'm done.
And when
So,
that,
you know
maybe
what?
when that starts happening, I don't know.
We got an inventory report today. We're looking at it. We need to order this item, this item, this item, because we're going to be running out of them within the next two to 4 weeks.
That's what happens.
Well, guess what? But guess what? I can't order them.
So that means that you're not going to have it.
I can make the product here, but it's going to cost twice as much. And then I'm going to have to go up on the price, and then nobody's going to buy it. So I'm like cooked. All right, that's it.
There you go, right there. There's a prime example. I mean, we're just sharing what we know, right? This is real talk.
Yeah, Steve, the cold stamping. This is actually Lost Wax Casting does this. Cold stamping in the United States costs so much to do because of the cost of labor. I mean, we make, I don't know what the average salary is for hard labor. I guess between $20 and $25, and sometimes upwards of that. They're making $2 an hour over there.
Yeah. Hey,
for the same thing.
I've asked him the same questions. I'm like, David, no, surely not, this and that. And I mean, dude, you've tried everything.
Man, I've been trying for 30 years to get stuff made in the United States.
So I mean, I really do trust.
And we still make stuff here, and our leather that we manufacture with comes from Pennsylvania. It's tanned in Pennsylvania.
That's good.
Tried to find our hardware so that we can make an all-American product.
Just can't do it.
It's not done. Nobody even has it. They laugh.
And that's sad. And I hope that comes back. I really do. I think it can, but it is going to take a long time, and there's going to be a lot of suffering in between.
A lot of this is mass production. Most of it's mass production stuff. And they've got that labor edge over there, and they have the ability. They'll work 24 hours a day.
I mean, they've got their population is a lot larger.
They got people lined up over there to get jobs, and in the larger factories, and most of your small people that are small businesses sell to a larger company, unless we got lucky and we got hooked in directly with some of these smaller companies, and we have more of a personal contact with them. And it's not like a larger corporation. But these larger corporations, they'll supply a place like Army barracks for a single man to go work. They'll pay him an hourly rate that's like fractions of what we pay here, and they'll have like a mess hall, just like the military over there. But these people love it, and they got a bicycle to ride. They're not. And then there's this modern side of things of the people that are up hiring these people that are upper management.
Upper echelon.
They're starting to get into the electronics field and stuff, and they're starting to make some money. And their society is more Americanized today than it ever has been.
But they've stolen a lot of our stuff too. I mean,
they steal.
They steal our stuff, but then they make it and then they sell it, and
they turn around and undercut you with it.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. Yeah. So I mean, what do? We just keep on living here, but I really don't like tariffs.
Tamara just described what's happening. Thank you, gentlemen, for a spirited conversation. All we can do is our best while hanging on a wild ride, and that's the truth.
Hang on.
But the wild ride, when you take a sharp turn, you lose a lot of people.
Yeah, you do. And unfortunately, we're coming on that sharp turn right now, and I'm just waiting for a straightaway or some ups. And then I'll be ready for the downs, and hopefully everybody else will.
All right, Bo, we'll be back on here again Thursday to give updates. I'm hoping and praying that this ceasefire holds.
I do too.
And I wish Lindsey Graham would get lost.
Yeah, he just wants a war.
Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, all these guys that want to put boots on the ground in Iran, we need to get rid of them.
Yeah,
we need to remember these. They go with an R by their name, but they're not an R.
No, they're
not conservative.
They don't practice conservative principles.
They're neocons. And I don't know what motivates them, but I'm pretty sure it's the almighty dollar.
Well, of course it is. That's what
motivates
a lot.
Thanks for watching today. Please share our video. We're going to come back and talk again and try to keep everybody up to date on some of the ins and outs. We're watching real close behind the scenes. We go into a lot of sources that are unconventional. We don't watch CNN and Fox News alone. As a matter of fact, they don't know what's going on. They just spin it the way they want
to. It's what they don't tell you. Remember,
we've got some intelligent sources that are actually legit. They just tell it like it is without watered down or without twisted.
Pretty simple.
And we just pretty much here it is.
Real talk.
And we will keep